Thank you for joining us. It is Trinity Productions, trinityprosound.com. We've got another Take It Apart video in our ever-going series on Take It Apart. And this time we are bringing you, a number of you asked, we did the one on the Core 121, which is the 12-inch version. And a number of you asked about the 151 and if we could do a video on that. So we did bring in the 151, which is a 15-inch version of the Core series. And we're also going to do kind of some comparisons. We did a video years ago on the Evox 12 from RCF. And so we're going to do some comparisons. We'll go outside, do some SPL readings and things like that. This one is a little bit bigger, has a larger amplifier on it. 15-inch driver though, and so we'll get into the specs on this, but it is the Core 151 from Studiomaster. So as far as, we can get to it and get these papers apart. As far as main features, it's got an 1100 watt RMS amplifier. So we've got 700 watts going to the lower box and 400 watts, somewhat probably limited on the amplifier and the crossover to the top box. It is a bass reflex subwoofer, curved array. It's got 3 8-inch drivers in this puppy at the top. So, I mean, we can barely fit at the stand that is with this, which has got a pressure rod in it that pops it up and down. It's all the way down as far as we can go. But it's got 3 8-inches and 12 1-inch high-frequency drivers down the center of it. And then it's got an integrated mixer with DSP control and Bluetooth. So that is the kind of the main features of it. As far as specifications are concerned, we've got the mid frequencies are 3 8-inch Neodyme full range drivers. Then we've got the high frequencies 12 1-inch dome tweeters. And that is 400 watts RMS popping up to the top. Coverage is 100 degrees horizontal, 55 degrees vertical. Let's see here, net weight, 11.5 kilos. We'll put down here what that is in pounds. The low frequency is a 15-inch, 700 watts RMS going to that, and a max SPL out of this box at, I'm getting photobombed here, of 126 dB. Frequency response is 35 hertz to 18, so we'll take a look at that and verify that. Net weight of the lower box itself is 37.5 kilos. It does have the mixer in it, 24-bit module, EQ limiter delay, we'll get into that. Similar to what is on the Core 121, mix level and control, 2 XLR inputs, so they're combos, XLR or line, because you can stuff the 1/4 inch down the center of them. It does have a high Z instrument jack on it. It has RCA phono inputs on it as well, and then Bluetooth. It does have 2 balanced line outs, which is one for each of the channels, so you can do a line out off of the channels, and then it does have a balanced line out with a mix from both of those channels, so that if you've got a little group going on and you want to send that over to another speaker or wherever it needs to go, you can end up doing that as well. The manual on it, goes in and talks about all the product features, the specifications on it, the setup. It does have the air cylinder in the center of this thing here, and then we'll show you also, it does have for connections, there is the wires inside this column. So it plops down onto a 1/4 inch connector and provides connections on both the top box and the bottom box. But it also gets in and talks about the DSP and shows you some basic setups as far as live music, guitar, microphone, things like that. So we're going to go ahead and get into this. As far as the speaker box is concerned, this guy, as far as height, let me get a tape measure. Should have been prepared. But top to bottom with it in its, I'd say its compressed condition. And I thought this one had the same top box on it that the 121 did. And I was surprised. So we're 82 inches with that all the way down. We'll go ahead, we probably won't be able to get it on video, but I'm gonna go ahead and pop this thing up. So we release this, and then it does have that gas cylinder in it. That just helps you get the thing up in the air. So it goes up. There is a marking on it after 4 that it does say max, but I think that's for our purposes. You can kind of see what it's doing. In the fully open, up in the air kind of deal, we are at a whopping, let's call it 94. So you're almost 8 feet tall with this thing fully opened up. But we've already have listened to it. I'm going to go ahead and bring this down. Have listened to it, and I can tell you that as we get into this and also do the listening on it, and then we're going to end up taking it outside and doing some sound measurements and stuff on it as well. That may be in a part 2 follow-up of this video, but we're going to end up doing that as well. But it's very musical. The Core 121 that we did was very musical just out of the box. It's not overbearing on the low end at all. So with that adjustment on the, which we'll put a picture of the mixer here, the adjustment on the mixer, you can end up setting the level of the low frequency driver separate from the top box. And that allows you to then contour the sub. It does have some DSP settings on it for speech, for DJ, and for music. The DJ's got some low end boost to it, but we've turned it up and didn't see, with what we didn't drive it into clipping. I'm sure you can, but ended up providing some additional low frequency enhancement, I would like to call it. And we'll take a look at that on the spectrograph and the RTA once we get into that portion of it. But very excited. I mean, with 3 8-inch drivers in this thing, it's going to be stinking amazing. So, and we'll get you the price points of maybe MAP and MSRP. These things are really pretty reasonable for what they are doing and the power output. It is all wood construction. It is a little bit heavy, but you know, it's just put together very, very well. So with that said, let's go ahead and get into taking this Core 151 apart. What we're going to do is look at the low frequency driver first, then we'll pull the top box off, pull the pole out, and then we'll do our disassembly of the top box right on our 15-inch low frequency driver box. So the grill on the low is put in with just crosshead or Phillips screws, wood screws on this. Total of 10 that is holding the grill in. And we are out. So before we get the grill pulled off though, let's go ahead and rotate this thing a little bit here. Handles on both sides. They do have it where it's been routed in, the name of the speaker. And then as we get around to the back side, same setup as the 121. So we've got inputs with a link out, selectable either mic or line, channel A, channel B, instrument input, 1/4 inch only on that, high Z, and then the gain control on that. And then we do have a mix output of all 3 of these into this XLR out. Bluetooth RCA is on its own right here. Sub-level down here, 0. So if you have just a talking head event and you don't need the low end, you can turn that down so you don't get any pops or anything like that out of it. And then we've got the DSP control up on the thing as well, so that you can end up setting the DSP. You've got mid-frequency cut and boost, high frequency cut and boost, low frequency cut and boost, delay, and then you got the DSP settings for speech, music, and DJ as well on the box. But before we get into the RTA and everything, we'll just go through the DSP settings that are on this unit. So to get into the DSP, you just punch it and it brings up, you've got high EQ, so you can punch that up or down, mid EQ, up or down. You can set the frequency of the mid EQ all the way up to, well, we're up to 8, 9, 10, it'll probably go all the way there, 12K. Get that dialed back down. I think that it was at 1.1, but we don't have it. 1K. Low EQ, and as with all of these, I believe it's a plus or minus 12 dB either direction on those. So we'll go back and set that at 0. The preset we're going to use to start out with is going to be music, low cut. You can end up doing low cut on the low end of this thing so that you can dial it anywhere from off. You can set it at 80, 100, 120, or 150. Delay, lots of milliseconds in there in case you need to use it for a delay in your mixer board. Does not have delay built in. Bluetooth on and off, LCD dim, so that if that's on after a certain amount of time, it will then turn off. You can load and store presets, erase presets, brightness and contrast. You can do a full factory reset on it. Get the current firmware info and then exit back out. And then these on A, B, C, and D, which correspond to A, B, C, and D, those are meters. So those will end up showing as far as the amount of signal that is present on each of those channels. Very well designed, very well put together. So let's go ahead and get this grill pulled. Maybe. And there we go. So grill-wise, again, probably 16 gauge grill, maybe between 14 and 16 gauge. So all nylon, kind of a mesh fabric that's put up on it. Pretty stiff, pretty beefy overall. So enough to keep bugs and dirt and debris and everything out of the low frequency driver. So the low frequency driver, 15-inch, standard suspension on it, all put in with, these are hex heads. So we're going to end up finding the right size of hex head for that. And get that removed so we can, and there it is, first try. And we can take a look and see what this 15-inch driver is. Hex head machine screws. You can see the porting down at the bottom here for the base reflex design. We ended up bringing in 2 of these to stick into our rental inventory. as well as live production inventory. You know, for a wedding, corporate event, ballroom, conference room, even an outdoor event, you know, let's say at a winery or something, a band could go in with 2 of these things and just make an absolute killer impression because of the sound quality and the output. We're going to go ahead before we do that, though, so this little puppy doesn't scoot, and put the brakes on. We're using our subwoofer dolly today that we made as an extra one for the 21-inch subs, but we haven't gotten around to painting it black yet. All right, red goes to red. These are just push-on speaker terminals. Red goes to red, black goes to black. This is a massive ferrite / ceramic magnet with a humongous cooling vent down the center of it. So let's go ahead here. You can see the little screen on the cooling vent, but it is a stamped frame. Weight-wise, this is easily 25 pounds, maybe more. So standard suspension. It is a, on the sticker on this thing, we do have a part number, FA15100G. 500 watts, impedance is 4 ohms. So, but they do have a seal around it so that once it goes back in, it seals up and doesn't let any air through other than what's going through the center of the voice coil to keep that cool when it gets rocking and rolling. So now we've got the cabinet opened up, and you can see that they've done some of that batting material for sound deadening on the inside of it, and our wires are coming through. They do have in the back of the cabinet, it is sealed up inside there. What we'll do is grab the, I don't know if we can turn this thing to get this camera to see it. Not too well, but you can see inside there that it's sealed up as far as going up to the, in fact, we'll get the iPhone and show you what they've done inside there. Okay, so let's go ahead and get this going. So there is the inside of the cabinet, and we'll go inside here. There's where they've got things sealed up coming through from the amplifier. And then up inside there, we're going back out to the controller there, and then up into the speaker pole for the top box with the blue and the yellow wires. But as you can see, they've got batting all the way around. So you knock on it, put your head inside of it. It does change the tonality and sucks up quite a bit of the audio, so to speak. But it is multi-layered, so you can see the multi-layered plywood right there. Let's see if we can, yep, there it is. So I'm assuming it's probably multi-layered birch on the cabinet, and then that's really about it for the construction of this puppy. But I'm going to go ahead and get all these screws out of the way, and we're going to pull that top box down prior to putting the 15-inch driver back in. I don't want to have these things get sucked up on the magnet assembly either. So we'll get that down there. Make sure that this is locked down so that when we go to lift it off, that we can do it. The only thing I wish they had on this, well, it looks like I'm going to get the whole stinking pole coming out, is handles. Some kind of handle. So there we go with the pole. I'm going to go ahead and lay that down, and we'll get out the iPhone video again here. So this is up inside, just a regular 1/4 inch tip and ring type connector. And then for the pole, we've got the females that it joins to down inside there. The gasket, or not the gasket, but the compression lip that's in here, and then there's the one on the bottom. They say is replaceable should it ever choke. So here I am turning the camera all over the place. But you know, it's a pretty decent, pretty robust pole. So air cushion mechanism prevents the speaker cabinet from falling quickly and ensures safe operation. Well, I would agree. So we're going to go ahead and get that set off to the side. The cup on the bottom screwed in, and then we've got screws in the bottom. We've got 2 in the front and 2 in the top. So we're going to go ahead and get the bottom ones out first. And again, these are Phillips. They are machine screws that are going in. We'll go ahead and pull out the top ones. Get those set off to the side here. Get this thing stood up. I've been listening to various artists, some of our test songs and stuff, been listening to the Eagles, Uncle Lucius. These are Phillips wood screws into the front here, which is the last 2, so it's held on by 6 screws. Even, you know, Mariah Carey, some of it's just got some good fidelity to it, and we've been listening to that with this speaker, and it's pretty stinking impressive. There we go. So there we go. And as far as the grill is concerned, same thickness as the other one. For the low end, same kind of nylon mesh inside here as the low frequency driver. So now you can see what we've got inside here. I think what I'll do is see if I can't pull one of the 8-inch drivers. I think I can do that by pulling probably this bottom one, because we've got the wire for it coming through the top up here. I do see that we've got some padding down through the center of it for dampening as well on this speaker. So again, machine screws. No, go away, go on, go on. Shop cat likes to stick her nose into everything. So let's see, there we go. So everything on those assemblies is joined together. Let me take off another one and maybe we can end up getting off to the side here with it so that it's not in the way. This one does not look like it's multi-layered plywood. This looks more of a MDF or something of that sort. So let's just see what we can do to get this off to the side, and then we'll see. Eight-inch drivers are again held in with machine screws, just a little bit shorter than the ones that are holding on these 1-inch dome tweeters. And I'm sure if we pull this whole puppy apart, we'll find a crossover network in it there somewhere as well. And it may be at the bottom where the cabling is coming in. Okay. And there it is. So we've got cabling coming in. These guys look like they're probably wired in parallel. I'm going to go ahead and pull this one out. And then we'll get in there with Mr. iPhone and take some pictures. So the cone on this almost looks like Kevlar or something. There we go. So it does look kind of like a Kevlar kind of material. It is a neodymium magnet. It is a stamped, get my left and right here going. It is a stamped basket. It is 12 ohms, so these guys would all be in parallel and end up presenting probably a 4 ohm load is kind of what I'm guessing. But it's got kind of like a butyl surround on it and not a standard paper surround. But pretty light, and I think that's how they keep the lightness of the box down so that you can lift it up there, and the pole works with the cylinder in it as well. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the inside of it here though. Those are the leads that end up going to the speaker, and then all of the batting, and then up inside there is our crossover. So let's see if we can get some of these wires out of the way. Yep, so that's our, a little bit tough, but that is our crossover network up in there. But these are the 1-inch drivers. See if we can get this thing to focus that close. There we go. 10 watts per, 4 ohms per. So my guess is they're kind of wired in a series parallel mode to be able to present the right impedance to the amplifier and, ow, that hurt, and to the end of the crossover. But very well built cabinet. This looks like it is multi-layered here on this cabinet. I can't tell with the coating that they've got on this or whether the rest of this cabinet is multi-layered or not. I don't think so because of the routing that they've done with these lines in it. It looks like it's more of a kind of an MDF type wood, but this portion is multi-layered where they've got all the thread certs or T-nuts and everything into it. But we'll go ahead and get this back together. For our demo purposes, we're not going to get it up on the stick. We're going to leave it sitting so that the top box and the sub are kind of together like this, a little bit more compressed down, so that we've got a little bit better ability to pick everything up with the reference microphone. So we're going to go ahead and get this puppy back together, get all the screws back in, test it, and then we'll go ahead and get into doing the spectrograph and the RTA. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. We were. And again, the leads on the speakers, the negative leads have a different connector on them than the positive leads on the speaker, so it is absolutely impossible to get the two screwed up and assembled wrong. And they do have locking spade lugs on them so that when they go in, they lock on to the tabs of the driver as well. They've really given it quite a bit of thought, you know, so that they don't have to worry about leads coming off and things like that of, you know, the speaker drivers, and these guys are all soldered in. So, but even, you know, with something should happen and replacement wise, you can either get a whole new assembly or individual drivers and go in and replace those. So pretty slick. All right, let's go ahead and get this guy back in. And again, tightening these down enough to snug them. And that is it. And then we'll go ahead and get the high frequency drivers back on. Or dome tweeters. With these dome tweeters that they have put on this, I think that's one of the reasons between these 8-inch drivers and the high frequency drivers of why this box sounds as musical as it does. Really quite impressive. Just enough to snug these. But instead of doing, you know, conventional drivers through it like some of the other manufacturers do, where it's just, you know, high frequency cone speakers taking care of everything from 250 or 300 on up, they've separated out. I wish that we could find out what the crossover frequencies are, but we may be able to see that. We'll go ahead and leave the grill off this, and maybe as we're running some high frequency through it, I'll be able to see or tell whether anything is going to these 8-inch speakers or not. So we'll go ahead and get all this back over here. We'll get our low frequency driver back in and then get into RTA spectrograph. And these are just little push clippies. Standard to every type of speaker. Pretty much. Okay, that can sit like that, and we're going to grab some screws. Or bolts, I should say. Or machine screws, whatever you want to call them. This thing is a beast. Whoops. Wrong one. Darn. Well, we'll get some of these started with our fingers just to hold it. We are together. As much as we're going to be for demo purposes. Get that pointed around there. And now that I think about it, I've got, I've got to use the pole anyway, because that's got the connector in it that we're going to make this operational with. Silly me. But that locks on pretty tight, and it's pretty secure down in there. They've got a little O-ring there to help protect the seal, but it's tapered, and so they've tapered it top and bottom so that the speaker goes down and fits pretty snug on it. And down it goes. So there's our assembly. And now we'll go ahead and get the RTA and everything set up and be right back. Okay, so we've got everything set up now for the RTA and spectrograph hooked into this thing. We've used the pole, leaving the grills off so we can watch some stuff. This camera here, we can end up watching the low frequency driver. I don't have anything other than this camera here. We'll watch the top box, and then we've got camera over here watching the RTA and the spectrograph. So we've already got it set so that we are producing some pink noise, and we'll go ahead and turn that up. And again, this is set in music mode. So we've got quite a bit of sound coming out of it, 117 dB. And we are 6 feet, 7 feet away with the reference microphone. The frequency that it seems to be the loudest at right around 60 hertz with that, but that is just residual building noise that we're kind of seeing on that. But we'll go ahead and do some sweeps as well out of this. As far as the excursion of the cone, 1/8 of an inch, a little bit over 1/8 of an inch in both directions on that. Nothing really to be super concerned about. I don't see on the display, nothing to tell us that we're even close to any kind of clipping or anything. I do have the gain all the way up for both the top box and for the sub. I'm going to turn the sub all the way down now. So we're crossed over, looks like probably around 100. Not too great of a slope with the crossover down to the subwoofer. I wouldn't say it might be an 18 dB per octave. Maybe a 24 on that to combine to go to the sub, and then we'll bring the sub back up. I think if we turn the gain down though, period, yeah, we don't get anything out of the sub, which is unfortunate, but. But you can see it's doing a pretty good job even down into 35. I think kind of as the specs say on it, it is probably, looking at the RTA, probably 5 to 6 dB down at that low, where the bulk of everything is really kind of around 60 to 70 that we're seeing on the spectrograph. So that is the music setting. We'll go back into the DSP here. We're going to turn it on for voice. So now we're voice. Everything else is flat as far as the rest of the EQ settings on it. So you can see it really rolled off the low end. So we're not getting the white kind of overdriving streaks through here in the spectrograph as we were in the music mode. So it ends up pulling down quite a bit in the voice mode itself. And we'll go ahead and start and run that again. Now we're going to go into DJ mode, which that does have the low end boost to it, as we'll see here. So we're getting a lot more excursion in that on the cone. And I think my device just disconnected on the cone itself, but nothing where I'm hearing any abnormalities or anomalies or anything like we're over excursion on the cone or anything like that for this particular driver. So, and we're up, you know, at some respectable SPL levels at 6 feet. we're 6 dB shy of what they say the max SPL is on this particular speaker. So that is the DJ mode. If we go in and we'll go back into music mode, and we're going to play with a low cut. So now we've got low cut set at 80. So that really cut quite a bit off. We're going to go ahead now and set the low cut to 100 hertz. Cut even more. Now we're at 120. And now we'll go in to do 150, but it really takes quite a bit of the low end content out of it, and everything is just coming through the top box at this point. So it does take out quite a bit of the low end, but if you're doing a a corporate event that you're not having any music or anything that you need to worry about going through the speaker, so that those pops and expletives and things like that don't cause the thing to go crazy, you can end up rolling that thing off at 150 or 120, and you won't have to worry about that if you don't have a mixer that has those kind of capabilities to be able to roll off specific frequencies. So now what we're going to do is go ahead and get into, we're going to do a couple of sweeps on this thing and kind of, excuse me, and see where we can maybe determine what the crossover frequency is on the 8-inch and the 1-inch drivers on this puppy. So we'll go ahead and get back into our signal generator, making sure it's all the way down. We are in. So let's go ahead and do sine wave. It'll start down at 23 and go all the way up to 20K. So let's get into the generator here. Turn it down. So now we can end up adjusting the frequency of it. So we're producing 50 hertz. Let's go down. So once we got down below 40, it starts dropping off pretty quick as far as, let's look at the dB readings here. So we're still, that's at 51 hertz and we're producing 112. But as we get down to 40, you can really see that it's dropping down quite a bit. It's still doing it. And then we just choke out at about 25. So let's turn the sub off. So right now we're generating 49. We're going up. We're going to be listening for the top box. Barely start to hear it come in at about 60. But right there at around 100, 105 is when these things start to pick up. I don't hear anything coming out of the 1-inch drivers. Turn that down a little bit. There we can start to hear it pick up maybe around 2,500 hertz, 2.5K. And then they take over all the way up to 20K. Let's get out here in front. I'm going to say they pick up right around 2.5K is where these guys start really kind of shining and you can hear it. And then they take care of that high frequency all the way up to 20K. Let's go back in and turn that on. They're still producing up at 10K, or they're still producing up 15, very narrow. Poof, off the scale, 20K. But as far as in doing the sweep, if we look at the dB meter, we'll come back down to kind of where this 8-inch driver falls off, but really where it starts playing quite well, right around 100, 125. We're at 90. But as we continue this sweep up, we are within a few dB until we get way up at the top end of the scale. But right there, we're in this whole spectrum, we are within a few dB of all of the frequencies. And then pull it off. But fairly consistent throughout the frequency band from about, I'd say 125 cycles all the way up to 20K. And then our low frequency driver is now turned up. No, our low frequency driver is now turned up. But you can see it's at 38. Turn it up a little bit. We're getting a little bit of movement on the cone. Down at 30, we're getting quite a bit. But where the SPL levels are that it really starts to shine is from about 53 and if I put my hand on this, we lose it. There's a little bit there at 135. But it starts coming back in about 95. It's reproducing 40, but quite a few dB down. And then as we get lower, 30, 31, 26, it's just, there's kind of hardly anything there. And once we get below that, there is nothing. So yeah, the sweeps really kind of prove where everything kind of comes together and crossover points on these drivers. But quite impressive for what it is. Let's go ahead and we'll get our YouTube playlist out. We'll do that. And then we're also going to, as we have done now, starting with some of the others, we'll end up doing a segment that we will put a link to our Dropbox on so that you can take a listen with the Zoom recorder and listen to what's going on with that with some known artists and known songs that will end up running through this thing. And I'll let you know what the artist is and what the song is that we're going to end up running through this. So I'm going to go ahead and get the Zoom recorder going. So the Zoom is up and running. RTA mic is on. Cheating Juarez. And we're going to go ahead and go into inputs A and input B, just so that we don't lose any content. Turn these puppies down before we get anything going through. So I'm going to put these up at about halfway, and then I can dial this down. Okay, so YouTube, MP3 stuff, crappy sample rate, but at least it'll kind of give you an idea. We've got the Zoom recorder now synced up to the video, and let's go ahead and take a listen. So that is set to music. We're going to go ahead and put it on voice. Took quite a bit of the low end out. Now we're going to go ahead and stick it on the DJ preset. There's DJ. So there's quite a bit more low end on the D. So let's go ahead and find something a little different. So it's still in DJ mode. mode. Music mode. So, very musical. The files we're using, so we don't get dinged with YouTube, just suck. But now we're going to go ahead and put the link down at the bottom down here, and you can end up taking a listen to that in our Dropbox. That'll end up having some stuff that's a lot more fidelity as far as the songs and the files and everything are concerned, and something that you would most likely recognize. So at this point, we're going to cut over to that, and we'll be right back into this. Okay, so now we're back, and link is down in the description for the Dropbox and the songs that we ended up playing. You can listen to on that as well. But for what this thing is, I can't wait to get it outside and check some of the SPL levels that we'll be able to generate and how far we'll be able to go with this thing. You know, for doing, gosh, a couple hundred people, you know, a little park event or something, corporate events, stuff in a ballroom. I mean, with this, two of these things, with the 15-inch driver in this, the way that they've got it configured, DJ work. Got to be careful about overdriving it, but I think you'd be able to see that and hear that as well. And we always caution people when they say they're going to buy these things for DJs that we want to just make sure that they understand that even though this appears to be a subwoofer, maybe if you need more, get another sub. Two of these things, though, should really do something pretty stinking wild. But with that said, if you want more information or talk about these things, pricing, you want to order them, we'll get the map down here again, and we can make you an absolutely fantastic price. Stock on these things is usually pretty good, so that if you wanted to order one, we can get one out to you, you know, fairly quickly. I think the most that we've ever had to wait is like 3 weeks anyway, so it's not too bad. But for what this is and the price point that it has, and especially having the 8-inch drivers up in the top box for the mid-frequency portion of it, this thing just setting up, you know, like I've said in some of our other videos, you know, we've got 4,000 square feet here, and one of these fills up to 4,000 square feet when this thing's turned up all the way. It is, and we've got a steel roof, steel siding and everything. It's insulated pretty well, but it still rattles it quite nicely. But with that said, any questions? It's the Studiomaster Core 151, and I would consider this a three-way system with the low frequency, the mids, and the highs. And again, for the price point that it's at and the features that it offers and the construction of it, you will not be disappointed. So email us, info@trinityprosound.com, or you can look us up on the web. We've got some information on there. We don't have a storefront on the web, but it's www.trinityprosound.com. And you can always call us 209-832-8023. That is our business number, and love to be able to talk to you anytime. So reach out to us as you feel fit. And with this guy, I just, again, can't reiterate how well they've done with this thing at the price point that it's at, though. Very solid construction, very well done. And if you're in the Springfield, Missouri area and you want to come by and see us, reach out to us. Love to have you. You can give us a buzz and we can set something up to demo some stuff for you as well. So again, thank you for investing the time to watch this. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. That would really help us and help you too get future notifications. So again, thank you very much. Thanks for spending the time with us here today on YouTube. Trinity Productions, trinityprosound.com.